everyone, this is Grace. Thank you so much for joining me on this episode. Today I have an amazing guy, Danny, who has invented something that I believe is extremely important in business. He is the inventor and creator of Imovation. So tell us, what is Imovation, Danny?
Awesome. Well, Grace, thanks for having me. It's really a pleasure to spend time and be with you today. So I founded the Imovation project, and you're right, Imovation is this methodology that I've created. And it is intended to empower businesses to drive the bottom line results they've always wanted.
That's amazing.
Right? Well, I mean, all businesses want results, right?
Yeah.
And the thing about it is, where do results come from? Right? And a lot of people will say, well, we have our processes, we have our products, well, we have our policies, but results aren't found or hidden in your processes, and you're not going to find them in your policies, and you won't find them in your products, even though you might think they're because of your products. Results are a function of one thing, and one thing only.
And that is?
Your people!
Yes, that's true.
Yeah!
It takes people to produce something.
That's right.
And so when you invest in your company, you have to invest in the people.
You've got to.
Not the product.
Well, you got to invest in both.
Yeah.
You got to invest in both. I mean, without a product, you don't have something to offer.
Mm-hmm.
But that product will be created by who? The people. By the people. Even if it's a product you've created yourself, and then you bring on people to market or refine or enhance or sell or service, whatever it might be, that product goes nowhere without people.
Right.
Yeah, it doesn't go anywhere without people. And if you happen to run a business and you're a solopreneur and you do it by yourself, okay, well, maybe you're not managing people in your company, but for those who have people in their employ, it's your people who power the performance of your business. And so Imovation, we give businesses a methodology that allows them to take the experience people have at work, the employee experience, the workplace experience, and innovate every area so they can drive that bottom line performance by getting the most from their people.
Yeah, so tell us a little bit more about that.
About Imovation? Right. Yeah, sure. So the word itself is a combination of two words, emotions and innovation. So Imovation stands for innovation powered by emotions.
Amazing.
And what it's for is for business owners, for folks who've got at least one person in their employ. If you have a business and you want to drive results, where do those results come from?
People.
Yes, they come from people.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of businesses think it's their products or their processes or their policies, but none of those things produce results.
Gosh, I like that.
Yeah, it's the only thing that produces results in any business are the people.
I like that.
That's it.
That's a great idea. But where did that idea come from?
Okay, so I spent my last 11 years working in big consulting.
Okay.
I got to work with some amazing companies, brands like Disney, AT&T, Johnson & Johnson, BMW, and a whole bunch more. And I got to do all sorts of things from these companies, all sorts of things.
Yeah.
And one of the experiences I had working with these companies, before I started the Imovation project, I was working with a customer experience transformation company, and the work we did was amazing. Sometimes companies would bring us in, they'd ask us to transform their customer experience with them. And so we'd promise them that transformation. And so we'd work with the people who would produce the transformation, because results are a product of one thing, your people.
Yes.
And we'd say, okay, let's co-create these amazing experiences for your customers. And they say, this is really inspiring, this is really great. And I don't know that I'm really willing to put this effort in. Well, why not? Because I don't get treated halfway as good as what you're asking me to treat these customers.
Right.
And so until I can see my boss walking the walk, I'm not going to walk the walk. And so right there, I kind of saw, I was like, all right, if I want to tackle business transformation, I can't start at the customer experience. I've got to start at the employee experience. Because as I've said, people power business performance.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Because when you have people, it doesn't matter what company you work in, even if you have your own company, just you and a secretary or whatever, you need that feeling that you're being acknowledged.
Sure. Yeah.
Someone can see your effort. Someone can see the amount of work you're putting into that company. And when you feel that, you produce even more results. And so if you work in a company where you feel like the employee is just focusing on the product and not the work that you're doing, then you are not able to give everything in what you're doing. So that is what Imovation is all about, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, so many people go to work today, they feel burned out, or they feel stuck in their role, or they simply want to leave. Now, I was reading some statistics. 51% of all Americans today are looking for their next job right now.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's a lot of people.
Yeah, because they're feeling burned out. Another statistic for you is 85% of the global workforce is disengaged in their work. 85%.
Wow.
So, and that's, engagement is a feeling.
Right.
To be engaged. And it's a synthesis of a bunch of other feelings we can have in the workplace, but feeling known, feeling we're trusted, feeling like we have a voice, those all contribute to a sense of engagement.
Right.
And so what I'm trying to do is to focus on those emotions that would have us be engaged. And it's all about the experience we have at work. And so, like, as you put it, if someone's not feeling seen or heard, or if they don't feel important, or they don't feel connected to their company's mission or the people around them, or they don't feel inspired by their leaders, or they don't feel empowered to perform in their roles without fear of screwing up.
I'm thinking that they feel like there's a distance between them and the leader, right?
Oftentimes that's the case, yeah.
Yeah, because here I am working for something, but I'm not connected to what it's going to be.
That's right.
And when you have a company where the employees feel like, I am part of this company, and when we make something great, we all win. We all create the results as a company. Then that's where the motivation comes from.
Sure.
In my opinion.
Yeah.
Yeah. They have a greeting in South Africa. I read this on a book by Robert Holden, and he says that there's a certain tribe in South Africa. I don't remember which one, and they, in their way of saying hi, how are you? They shake each other's hands. One says, I am here to be seen. And the other one says, I see you. And that's an amazing way of just making sure that the other person feels, I see that you're here and I appreciate you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's funny you say that because, I remember being in a work environment where the leaders would do a beeline into their office. And they wouldn't say good morning to anybody.
Yeah.
And they'd sit in their office all day unless they called you into a personal meeting. And so it really has created this very cold environment. But, to go off what you just said, we're in front of other people to be seen. Everyone wants to feel like they exist and like they matter. And the workplace, we spend so much time there, we want to feel like we matter. Yeah. And so the methodology is really based on two questions, right? Imovation is based on two very simple questions. And leaders of any organization can ask them and then answer them and then act on them. And those two questions are, how do you want your people or your employees to feel? And what will you do to have them feel that way? How do you want them to feel, and what will you do to have them feel that way? And I guarantee you, no business owner or leader in any organization would ever say, well, I want my people to feel stuck. I want them to feel burned out. I want them to feel unappreciated. I want them to feel overworked. They're not going to say that.
No.
Of course not.
No.
Unfortunately, some of the things we do would be consistent with those kinds of intentions.
Oh, that's amazing.
It's kind of nuts.
Yeah. You're changing the game, Danny. You're doing that because what I'm thinking about a company and a CEO, they think this is my company. I have to get these results from my company.
Yeah.
But what you're doing here is that trying to make the leader understand that these people, you need them in order to get there. It's not about just the product. It's about the entire company.
It is.
Yeah.
Well, the thing about that is, I'm an entrepreneur myself, and I have a dream, right? The mission of the company is to create the world's greatest workplaces.
Right.
And ever since I can remember, my dream has been to make other people's dreams come true. So this business is a dream of mine. And if I have people work with me, really they're working to create my dream.
So what is the methodology of what you're doing?
Oh, cool. It's a great question, and it's really simple.
Yeah.
It's 4 steps to Imovate your workplace.
Okay.
And the first step is asking, how do your people feel today at work? What's their experience like today? What is the employee experience? I call that the situation, very simply. No jargon, right? What's the situation at work today? All you got to do is ask, how are people feeling? You can do that in a number of ways. My favorite and simplest way to find out how people are feeling at work is to have 30 minutes every 30 days with your direct reports. And if you've got too many direct reports, then I totally recommend having office hours. A lot of people talk about having an open office or office hours. They don't actually put it in place.
No.
And it's so surprising, what happens when you actually communicate to people, hey, I'm available once a week, this day, between these hours, anything you want to talk about. You'll always have people knocking on your door if you are genuinely interested in finding out.
Right.
But the other, people always talk about management by walking around.
Mm-hmm.
And there's something to be said for that. Instead of, if you're really busy and you've got a lot of work to do, it can be really easy to stick around in your office and keep your heads down and try to just get things done.
Mm-hmm.
And that won't have people feel noticed or seen or appreciated.
Yeah.
And so it really does make a difference to get out there, whether you're working in a cubicle farm or whatever it might be.
Mm-hmm.
If it's a sea of cubicles or a bullpen or a manufacturing floor or whatever it might be, get out there with the people
mm-hmm.
and actually talk to them, really be with them.
Yeah. Like my boss just took his or her time off to come and talk to me.
That's right.
Yeah.
And how did it make you feel?
Makes me feel important.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right. So that's one. Those are some simple things people can do. And of course, you hear about annual surveys or quarterly pulse surveys. There's a whole host of other things you can do to keep to manage the situation at work.
Right.
But once you're comfortable and you understand the situation, the next thing is to build a new foundation. So now people feel. Now you want to know.
Now you know.
You know how they feel, right? Now it's all to you. Just figure out, well, how do you want them to feel?
Yes.
So put that in the past where it belongs. How do you want them to feel?
What can I do to make them feel?
Well, that's next.
Yeah.
So once you figure out how you want them to feel, and you can do that just by having a conversation with your leadership team, really just looking at how do we want people to feel when they come to work, then you go through a series of ideation. What can we do? Like you said, what ideas can we put forth to have people feel the way we intend?
Yeah.
So you've got the foundation of how you want them to feel. Then you generate a ton of ideas on how you can make that happen. And that's when you want to get people involved so they can feel included.
Wow.
Inclusion is one of the biggest things. You hear talked about a lot in terms of diversity and inclusion.
Mm-hmm.
But inclusion has so much more to do with your background, your ethnicity, or where you come from. It's being included in the process that creates the business.
Okay.
Being included in decisions, being included in the planning. That's a big part of inclusion.
Right.
And once you've got your ideas to bring about how you want people to feel, well, now you got to put it into motion. And that's all about orchestration.
So where do we start?
Well, so you start by gathering the people,
Okay.
the resources, and the activities you need to put all this in motion. But where do you start? Where do you look? Right. So this is a 4-step process. But where do you even look within your employee experience? And so just like there are 4 steps to the methodology, there are 4 stages to the employee journey. And this is something everyone who listens can resonate with. If you've ever worked at any company, if you've ever worked anywhere,
Yeah.
it all started by exploring opportunities.
Right.
You explored an opportunity somewhere.
Yeah.
Whether it was a conversation, or you went to a website, you went and you maybe started interviewing, you had conversations.
Yeah.
That's exploring.
Right.
You're exploring opportunities. And that happens all the way through either an offer is extended or interest is terminated, right? We're not going to move forward with you, or you're not a fit, or hey, you're not a fit for me, whatever it might be. But once you move on from explore, you start to familiarize yourself with the company. Let's say you get an offer. The next step is, well, I got to get familiar with you as a brand. I really got to know. What's my job going to be like? Who's my manager going to be? Who's going to be in my team? Who are my coworkers? What are the policies here? You get familiar.
Right.
And that includes any onboarding and orientation. And that can last up to a year after you start.
Yeah.
Some people have, your first year, new joiner plan or whatever it might be. So that's getting familiar.
Right.
But at some point, whether it's 2 weeks, 2 days, or a year after you start, you really start operating in your role.
Right.
So you went from explore to familiarize to operate. You're starting to operate in your day-to-day role. You're taking on your functions. You're doing your job. You're going to meetings. You're doing all the things you would need to do in your role.
Right.
And then you move on from there and you start thinking, well, is this role right for me? Is this company right for me? Is this manager right for me? Is this team right for me? And all that is what? That's evaluation.
Right.
And that's the last stage. So you go from evaluation, you either start exploring new opportunities at your company, or you start exploring new opportunities outside of your company, or you go back into operate. And it's a cycle.
Yeah.
It just goes in a cycle like that.
Yeah.
You explore, you familiarize, you operate, you evaluate. Everybody does it.
Yeah.
Right now you're evaluating. Is this conversation, should we still be having this conversation? But at first it started with exploring, who are you going to talk to?
Yeah.
Then getting familiar with the person. Now we're having the conversation and you evaluate. What's the next question? What's the next thing?
Wow.
It's not just a circle for the employee experience. It's really how we operate in life.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I like that because I spoke to someone one time many years ago, and he had a job. He goes to companies and he asks them questions, or rather companies that delivering results. And he was hired to have a conversation with the employees. And I asked him, so what's your job? And he said, my job to me is to find out if they fit that position, because he found out after doing that job for some years that there are people who work, in management, but that person doesn't fit in management. He fits in another area in that company. It's just like relocating where they feel like they're actually good in what they do.
Sure.
And then when they feel like they are good in what they do, then they produce results.
Sure.
But I actually feel what you're saying is so important, because even when you feel you're good at what you do, without being acknowledged, it doesn't mean anything.
Well, how do you know if you're good if no one's saying so? Yeah.
So I like what you're saying, and that is, like I'm saying, you're just changing the game, because now it's never about results and how the company can produce more and be bigger. It's also about the people working in that company and seeing them and making sure that they love their jobs. And when it comes to working in a company, whatever you do, you spend so much of your time there.
Right.
And so while you're there, you might as well feel worthy of being there. Yeah. Like you're doing something that is changing not only yourself, but the world. You're delivering something.
Yeah. And I have it goes the other way too. When someone chooses to work for you or your company, your dream, your mission, now you're worthy of having them give their time and their energy and their attention to that. That's how I see it. If someone chooses to work with the Imovation project, they've chosen that I'm worthy of their time.
Yeah.
They could work anywhere, and they're choosing to work with me.
Yeah.
And that's
amazing.
To me, that's how I view it. And I have it. It goes both ways. If I choose you as an employee, yes, I'm deeming you worthy, but at the same time, you're choosing me as an employer.
Right.
You're deeming that I'm worthy of your time. And so in that relationship, we both can thrive.
Right.
So long as we can acknowledge that that's what it is.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So why is this so important to you?
Well, people make the world go around, but I distinctly remember there was a meeting once where I had a phantom foot injury. So I'm in my home office. I'm on the phone, and we were coming up against a really severe deadline. There's a lot of pressure. This was a huge client, multi-million dollars on the line, and something was due in 2 days or something, and I wasn't done yet.
Okay.
And I was having a shouting match with my manager.
Okay.
And at one point, I stand up, and my foot just snaps.
Okay.
So it just snaps. And at first, I'm thinking, all right, it's fine. But I get off the phone, and it's hurting so bad I can't walk on it. And the next morning, it's swollen like a balloon. I have to go to the hospital, and the doctors tell me that while nothing is broken and while they can see anything, it's some sort of phantom injury, and I've got to wear a walking boot for 2 weeks.
Okay.
Well, the next week I had to fly into my office where the company was located, and I'm on crutches. I go to terminate my employment there, and they talk me out of it. But things didn't improve. Not too much longer after that, I had to go back to the hospital. This time I was having chest pains. My twin brother is a nurse, and when I told him what I was experiencing, he said, you might be having a heart attack. And what I got from that experience is it's so important to care for the people that we work with.
Right.
Because workplace stress is very real.
Yeah. And
it doesn't produce the kinds of results we'd actually want. Yeah. For me, the results like 2 trips to the hospital and then starting my own business. And I just think that it's like what you said. We spend so much time at work.
Yeah.
Why shouldn't it be amazing? Why shouldn't it be an incredible experience?
Yeah.
Why should we ever have to feel like we're suffering?
Yeah.
When we're trying to make a contribution to the world. I think everyone wants to make a difference, and we go to work to do that.
Yeah.
So let's do that.
Yeah, amazing. I like that, Danny, because like for me as a mother, you leave your child and you go to work. Okay, let's say there's one thing you're doing it for the money too, but it's also important to be acknowledged for the effort you're putting to get there and to be there and to do the work. It's not just about showing up. We give up quite a lot to go to work and to make sure that the boss is happy and we have delivered what we are paid for.
Right.
And so it's important to get that back.
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah, it should be fulfilling.
I love your message.
Oh, thank you.
I like it. So what do you want to be acknowledged for?
Well, I mean, I think, thank you for asking. It's a provocative question. I would say for standing for what's possible.
Yeah.
I think today we're so resigned that work is this place we have to go to make a living, to make a paycheck, and we're resigned that it's just not a part of our lives that can truly be enjoyed. There are some that really love their work, but I think for so many of us, I mean, statistics are showing it, 85% of us around the world aren't engaged in our work. What's possible is that we care for one another. And what's possible is that we ask those questions.
Yes.
How do we want our people to feel? How do I want you to feel? And what am I going to do to have you feel that way? And so for me, being acknowledged for what's possible, which is everybody asking, answering, and acting on those two questions to create a world where that's just the way things are. We do things in service of others. And we'll get results from that. I'm sure of that.
Gosh, this is amazing.
Saying, I want my people to feel inspired. I want my people to feel connected and empowered and heard and seen and valued and appreciated. Now, what are the actions I need to take to have them feel that way? As you practice that every single day and you continually look at your situation at work, you can find out and discover what it's going to take to continuously innovate your workplace experience to keep people thriving. I mean, people power your performance. Thriving people equal thriving business. It's really simple.
Connect with you. How do we keep in touch with you?
Cool.
Where do we find Danny?
Well, I've got a website. It's Imovationproject.com. And a really cool thing, Grace, is I am launching a digital consulting product where I will take people who want to bring innovation to their workplace, their employee experience, starting with them picking an area of the experience that isn't working as well as they'd like it to, and bringing it to a completely innovated state over 6 weeks of time. Over 6 weeks, you get, every week you get about an hour of content of me sharing about how to Imovate in your workplace, and then you'll get 90 minutes of group coaching.
Amazing.
So you'll get to be in a group of peers working on all the same things together. So people are always wondering, well, what are other clients doing? What are other people doing to bring innovation to their workplace? Now you actually get a chance to be with them. And so at my website, Imovationproject.com, you can sign up with your email to learn more about the product and when you can sign up. It's going to be an amazing way to stay in touch. Don't get to engage with people in a way that hasn't been done in consulting before.
Amazing. I like that. Thank you so much for changing the game.
Oh, my pleasure.
Thank you. And I hope as many employees as possible find you, because you are doing something amazing. And I think the real results are behind the people working in the company. And if you invest in them, you're investing in your company.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's
I like that. Thank you so much, Danny.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you for joining me.
Thank you.
Yeah. So where do we find you, Danny?
Thanks for asking. So I've got a website, Imovationproject.com, and I'm currently building an online consulting program where over 6 weeks you can take an area of your employee experience and transform it with me. Every week you would get about an hour's worth of content to study and work with. And then that same week you get 90 minutes of group coaching with me leading that coaching. And so a lot of people ask, well, what are other clients doing? How are other people bringing innovation to their workplace? And in this course, you'll actually be working with other people from other companies so that you can all work together in a community to transform your workplaces together. So that's one of the coolest things. And so if you go to the website, Imovationproject.com, there's a banner at the top where you can provide me with your email address and some other information, and we'll keep you posted about when that course is going live, and that's the best way to keep in touch.
Okay, everyone, that was Danny. What an amazing conversation. Thank you so much for joining me. You can always find me on Instagram. Don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe. Thank you.